technology. Our bodies cannot handle this coronavirus created by wealthy elitists. The human frequency DNA distorted by radiation. Our brains cannot repair the climate. Kill the population. 783 frequency connects with the energy of the earth. God created is all a monopoly. They want us eliminated with the vaccines. They keep polluting the ecosystem. The earth is not clean. Bill Gates strategies to bring the population down for the economy. Overpopulation is a liability. When you study technology, interferes with Earth's frequency. It's not a conspiracy theory. This is scientifically proven with Schumann resonance. Study of the brainwave. Controlled information makes you a modern day slave. Pharmaceutical companies invest in the election. Coronavirus is a business with a financial connection. Big Pharma owns Congress. Politicians get paid. Corona vaccines will do more damage than an army grenade. Army grenade. Army grenade. The human frequency DNA distorted by radiation. We're not protected. We're not protected from the COVID virus. Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning to my channel. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. We have some news today. We have some great news and some bad news. We got news that Subriel Matias is going to fight Dalton Smith. That is what they're saying. I got it from a great source, and the source that I got it for us in the Spanish channel, Auténtico Boxing. Shout out to Auténtico Boxing. And the song you just heard is one of my songs. It's on all major platforms. It's called COVID-19, but they banned it from YouTube, but it's available on Spotify and all other major platforms. Tony also COVID-19. I also have it available as coronavirus or corona. So yeah, that song is real, and that's why they took it out of the YouTube. But I'm not gonna let nobody stop me. So you can check out that song whenever you want on all major platforms. Yeah, man, we have some great news. Subriel Matias is gonna fight in Puerto Rico. We already know that. But the rumor was that Dalton Smith's not happy with the purse that he's making, based on the purse bid being won by Fresh Production Boxing of Puerto Rico. But recently, Dalton Smith has made comments, and he said that it doesn't matter where the fight takes place. He's training for the fight, and he's not worried about any fishy decision. That all he has to do is train, and he's prepared to beat Subriel Matias. That's what he said. But the reason why they wanted to bring the fight to England or Saudi Arabia, Turkey Al-Sheikh and Eddie Hearn's matchroom, is because they wanted to give the advantage to Dalton Smith and make sure that he won the fight, even if he didn't win the fight. It was going to be in their hands, control of the decision, the judges, etc. But the rumor is that now it's confirmed that Subriel Matias is going to make an announcement real soon on the details of the fight, and that the fight is going to be with Dalton Smith in Puerto Rico. And Dalton Smith, they're saying that he agreed to the terms as far as, like, he don't care where the fight takes place. If it takes place in Puerto Rico, he's still going to fight him in Puerto Rico. That's the latest news that we got. So Subriel Matias is going to give news real soon on the details of the fight. That's what he's going to do. So that is the latest with Subriel Matias. But as far as these boxing content creators out there, there's a lot of boxing content creators out there that are fake and saying some fake stuff just because they want to save face, and they're embarrassed that their prediction didn't come to fruition. I'm talking about Punch Drunk. Punch Drunk said that Canelo was gonna win. He was gonna beat Crawford. That he was too big. He was physically too big for Crawford, and that Crawford was coming up 2 weight classes, and they make weight classes for a reason. And Punch Drunk basically said that Canelo was going to defeat Crawford because of the weight size difference. But now he's trying to save face, and he's saying that Canelo sold his soul because he signed with Turkey Al-Sheikh, that he should have kept control of his career. But if Canelo keeps control of his career and it was up to him, he's going to keep fighting bums with no pulses. That's what he's going to do. He fought Belanga. Like, Belanga was never fought an elite fighter. He never fought for a championship. So if it's up to Canelo to actually choose a fight, he's never going to fight elite fighters. He's always going to fight people with no pulses. He's going to fight boxers without a pulse. He's going to fight bums that don't really deserve to be in the ring with him. Why we say this? Because this is his track record. When he says that he does whatever he wants because it's his promotion, Canelo Promotions, that's exactly what he did. He fought Aldiram. who the hell's a Durham? And he said that he didn't want to fight Benavidez because what did Benavidez ever accomplish? Like he never fought anybody. But now David Benavidez is the WBC champion, and he's been looking for excuses not to fight David Benavidez. And it was 3 years that David Benavidez was ranked #1 to fight Canelo, and Canelo refused to fight him. But now he can't refuse to fight him because he is the champion, the WBC champion. But the rumor is that after the fight with Yarde in November 22nd, he is going to fight Beterbiev. That is what Turki Al-Sheikh is working on with David Benavidez. He's going to get a fight with Beterbiev if he beats Yarde. You know, so Canelo is always avoiding the best competition. And you saw what happened when he fought Crawford. You know, he thought he was going to be able to use a weight advantage, and it backfired on him. But all these fake content creators saying things just to get clickbait, like Punch Drunk, he don't know his boxing. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to my channel. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to that channel if you want to hear the truth. I'm just fighting for the rights of true authenticity boxing content creators. People that actually give you content, not for shock value, not for clicks, but there's some boxing content creators out there like Punch Drunk. He drinks too much beer, or he's just naturally punch drunk. He says that the reason why Canelo lost the fight is because he signed with Turki Al-Sheikh. The minute he signed with Turki Al-Sheikh, he already lost. And he said that if the fight was to go to 12 rounds, which the fight did go 12 rounds. Punch Drunk. And he said that they were going to give it to... people trying to interrupt my flow here. He said that if the fight goes the distance, that either way, that the fight, as soon as it was signed, that he sold his soul to Turki Al-Sheikh, and that Turki Al-Sheikh was putting money on Crawford, not Canelo. And I feel like that's a stupid reason for him to say that Canelo lost the fight to Crawford. But he's basically saying that he would have not fought Skull if it was up to Canelo. He would have actually fought Berlanga or Bumlanga and get stripped of the title, because if he would have did it with the Canelo promotions, with his promotion where he dictates everything. But that's the thing. If it's up to Canelo, he's never going to fight anybody that's elite or anybody that's good, or give us a fight that's worth watching, like Crawford versus Canelo. He would have never made that fight if he would have did it with his promotion. He only did that fight because they were paying him. Turki Al-Sheikh was paying him, and he was paying Crawford as well. Good, great money. But at the same time, he refused to fight David Benavidez, the fight that everybody wants to watch. So if it's up to Canelo, Canelo would never fight anybody nearly as talented as Crawford or David Benavidez if it's up to him. So this is a stupid excuse for Punch Drunk to say that Canelo sold his soul to fight Crawford instead of fighting the fighters that he could have had control over because of his own promotion. But if it's up to Canelo to actually choose the fighters for him to fight against, it would be against nobody. Fighters that are not worth even watching with him in the ring, like Berlanga, Munguia. Who wants to see that? Aldiram, whatever that guy was. He gave him the opportunity to fight for Canelo's belt, but who did he fight to actually deserve to fight Canelo? So why can't he use the same narrative that Canelo used, the same narrative that he used for David Benavidez, saying that who did David Benavidez fight? David Benavidez fought way more better fighters than Aldiram, and for excuses not to fight him. But all these people, Adam, Canelo just a slow-ass pressure fighter. Crawford exposed that. That's facts. That is facts. Thanks for tuning into the channel, Adam. Subscribe to my channel. Tony also knows boxing. All these fake content creators like Punch Drunk saying stuff, looking for excuses to save himself from the embarrassment of getting the wrong prediction, saying that Canelo was going to beat Crawford and overpower him and beat him because of the weight difference, but he don't know that Crawford had to cut down in weight. He didn't have to go up in weight. So it's the difference. That's why the weight didn't affect him. And that was an analogy that Roy Jones said. That was his assessment when Andre Ward interviewed him, and he Roy Jones basically said that Canelo didn't have to go up in weight to fight Canelo. He had to cut down weight to fight Canelo. So it's the difference. The weight is not going to be wasn't going to be a factor. But no, a lot of people that don't know boxing was saying that Canelo was going to overpower Crawford and run him out the ring, like Oscar De La Hoya said, which Oscar De La Hoya don't know nothing either, and he's a boxer. He should know better. especially Oscar De La Hoya. But Punch Drunk doesn't know his boxing. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to that channel. Punch Drunk doesn't know his boxing. He actually is embarrassed right now and doesn't want to give Bud Crawford the credit that he deserves. He wants to focus on stuff like semantics, different things that have nothing to do with the result of the fight. Why don't you just give credit where credit is due and say that Crawford is the greatest boxer of this generation, and he accomplished something that a lot of people didn't think he was going to accomplish, especially you, Punch Drunk, because you don't know your boxing. You were stating that Canelo was going to overpower him because of this weight classes for a reason. And Shakur Stevenson tried to tell you in your face that why don't you put the same energy when you mention Crawford's name like the way you put the energy when you mention Canelo's name. Come on, but it's Canelo, man. Come on, man. Use common sense. Use your mentality, your knowledge of boxing and history of boxing to correlate why you think that Crawford is going to win based on the variables. You know, give the facts. Don't just give your emotions on you being a fanboy of Canelo. Yes, Ricky Morales. Trinidad was the real deal. That's right. He's the best. Trinidad is the best. If Canelo would have fought Trinidad in the 90s, if they were both in the same era, Trinidad would have annihilated Canelo and buried him, wiped his ass with Canelo. He would have went like this with Canelo. He would have went like that without toilet paper. He would use Canelo as toilet paper to wipe his butt. Because Canelo's not in the same league as Felix Tito Trinidad. Let's get that straight. Even Dante Boxing said it. And I don't always agree with Dante's boxing, but he did say that Canelo would lose to Trinidad, that Trinidad would have destroyed Canelo. He didn't say it in those words, but he basically said that Trinidad would be too much for Canelo. And that's facts. Those are facts. Because Canelo's good, but he is not great. And I wasn't surprised of the outcome. Canelo was so one-dimensional, so predictable. Crawford knew exactly what to do to him and dominated him. And I believe that Crawford is the face of boxing right now. He's the best boxer pound for pound. And I got Usyk number 2. I got Inoue number 3. So yes, that's what I got right now. And you know, boxing content creators got to keep it funky and just admit when they lost a prediction. If they got a prediction wrong, like in this case with Punch Drunk, he got the prediction wrong. He should have just came out and said, yeah, you know, boxing is like that. We don't know who's gonna win sometimes. You know, sometimes we think that one fighter is gonna win, but then we find out how great the fighter is, and he proves us wrong. You just give credit where credit is due and stop trying to make it about him looking good and trying to save face because he got the prediction wrong. Because he got the prediction wrong, he's embarrassed now, so he wants to spin the narrative and make it Turkey Al-Sheikh's fault that Canelo Alvarez lost. Because Canelo Alvarez should have stayed with his own promotion and he should have never signed a deal with Turkey Al-Sheikh. If it was up to Canelo, Canelo would never fight anybody. Canelo refuses to fight the best. Canelo would not fight anybody unless he knows he has an advantage. He has to weight drain them or they have to come up to his weight. He's never going to want to fight somebody like David Benavidez and prove that he is a warrior that he really claims it to be. Like, if the fans want to see that fight, and you know, your legacy is not going to be tarnished if you lose to David Benavidez, but people will respect you if you take that fight because the majority of the people wanted to see David Benavidez versus Crawford. They didn't, not David Benavidez versus Crawford. The majority of the people wanted to see Canelo versus David Benavidez. That's what the majority of the people wanted to see. Canelo versus David Benavidez. But then, you know, the money talks, and then, you know, they made it happen. But, you know, Turkey Al-Sheikh made the Canelo versus Crawford fight happen. But they originally, we didn't even fathom that fight. We thought it wasn't realistic. But we have to look at the, you know, history. You know, boxers that have done it. You know, there's you know, like Roy Jones has done it. He was light heavyweight, went to heavyweight, and fought John Ruiz. And John Ruiz beat heavyweights. He beat Holyfield. He beat, you know, fighters that were real heavyweights. But, you know, a lot of people weren't thinking that Roy Jones was going to win. But he proved people wrong. It's all about the skills and how you make the weight. And the way Crawford made the weight, he didn't have to go up in weight and eat a lot of food to go up in weight. Based on what Roy Jones said in the Andre Ward interview that he just had to cut down weight. So that gives you the clue that it wasn't going to be a struggle for him in that weight, you know? So, all right, let me read the comments. They fight for money now, for the sport, not for the sport. Facts, Ricky Morales, facts. Canelo was good, but money changed everybody. Yeah, he was good, but he wasn't great. Ricky Morales, D-Melo, yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. Saul Rubalcaba, the fight was rigged. Stop. The fight was not rigged. Canelo was outclassed and beaten to a pulp. I think Canelo lost clearly, and he was just one-dimensional. He didn't throw any jabs. He was trying to fight like a football player and gave Crawford a headbutt, but that's not how you win fights. But the reason why he did that is because he was frustrated because he couldn't figure out Crawford's jab and combinations. He just didn't know how to deal with it. So you could tell that he was frustrated. You saw the face on Canelo. He looked like he was going to give up. And I felt like that was the perfect time for Crawford to finish him, or because he could have really, I think Crawford had a chance to stop him, but he chose to fight him lefty the whole fight. He fought him lefty the whole fight. And Crawford is a different animal. He has a lot of different intangibles. He has boxing skills, timing, speed, power, legs, footwork. He has the whole 9 yards. Boxing is not all brute force. And Canelo has some IQ, but he don't have enough for somebody like Crawford. That's why I knew from the beginning that Crawford was going to dominate him like the way he did. And it was not no surprise to me. But all these boxing content creators looking for excuses because they're embarrassed that they predicted the fight wrong. They predicted Canelo to win and he didn't. Now they want to save face and flip the narrative and say that it was Turki Al-Sheikh's fault that Canelo lost, that he should have never fought him, that he should have kept fighting whoever he wanted to fight. But if Canelo would have chose whoever he wanted to fight, we would have not had such a great fight with an elite fighter that most people wanted to see Canelo in a fight like that, where he was like, you know, in danger of losing. And that's exactly what happened. He faced Crawford, an elite fighter, because he didn't have control over it. Turki Al-Sheikh was providing it, and he paid both of them well. And I feel like Canelo would have never took a chance with his own company if he had total control of it. He would give us these fake fights that nobody wants to see, like Berlanga. Who did Berlanga ever fight? Berlanga never fought for a championship before he fought Canelo. He didn't have no experience. He just fought a bunch of tomato cans, and then he qualified to okay. He beat a couple of people before. I say some decent fighters, but nobody like to be worthy to fight a Canelo Alvarez. But I feel that's just the boxing politics. You know, they're gonna make the fight based on the name and how many people follow him. But he didn't fight anybody. Canelo fought the easiest fights possible before he fought Crawford. He fought Berlanga, Munguia, Charlo, coming up 2 weight classes. But Charlo went in there just to collect a paycheck. He wasn't even trying to win the fight. So it just lets you know that when Canelo is in control of his career, he's going to choose the worst fights possible so he could look good or decent enough so he could continue to win and make as much money as possible, because he's no longer in his prime. Canelo is no longer in his prime, and I feel like he's flat-footed and he doesn't have a jab, and that's the reason why Crawford was able to figure him out in the 4th round. Word up. Yeah, he definitely got outclassed. Saul Rubalcaba. Yeah, he did. Vegas made so much money. Vegas made so much money. Of course. You know, it's a business, you know, but we know that Canelo didn't have the answers for that. Even before the fight, we knew that Canelo would not have enough in his tools to actually counter whatever Crawford would bring. Crawford's at another level. He's a type of fighter that he only comes every 30 years. I'm just making that assessment. Canelo lost but got the most money. Yeah, because he was the bigger name, but now the face of boxing is Crawford, and he's the number 1 pound for pound. I believe he's the number 1 pound for pound, but I don't know what he's gonna do. I think that they're trying to get a fight with Hamza Sharize, the number 1 WBC 168 pounder who beat Berlanga, knocked him out. Jamal Charlo, fights like that, you know, like they're trying to make winnable fights for him, or a rematch with Canelo. I don't know. I don't think that that's a fight worth seeing again, because we know what's going to happen if it even worse. He's going to get knocked out if they fight again, because I feel like Crawford had the opportunity to knock him out, but he chose to, like, just dominate him. He didn't knock him out, but he had the opportunity to, because Canelo was stunned a couple of times and he looked like he was confused. And I think he definitely could have got knocked out, but he chose to dominate him and beat him in dominant fashion, which I believe that's what Crawford was going to do, because he had too much in the bag for him. Canelo's not built that way. He's one-dimensional, footed, had no jab, and he was trying to fight with his head because the jab, he don't have a jab. He couldn't time Crawford's jab and his combinations. He didn't know how to time it. He didn't know how to. The only way he was timing it by throwing wide haymakers. That's what he was doing. He was throwing wide haymakers and thought that, okay, if I could time him at the right time and throw a wide haymaker, I could get him. But it doesn't work like that with Crawford. Crawford is special. He only comes once every 30 years, the type of fighter like that. He has everything in the bag. Boxing ability, jab, power, head movement, defense. He has it all. Offense. That's just too much for somebody like Canelo to deal with. So yes, there's boxing content creators out there who are butthurt and want to excuse the loss of Canelo to signing with Turki Al-Sheikh. No. The reason why he lost is because Canelo is just not good enough to fight somebody with that elite status of Crawford, with those abilities. It's just too much. For a boxer always beats a puncher, but in this case, the boxer puncher, Crawford, dominated the brawler, Canelo. Because Canelo, he's not the greatest with his footwork. He fights like he's walking on sand. He's good. He's a good fighter. He's very good, but he's not great. Trinidad would have annihilated him if they would have fought in the ring in the 90s. Trinidad was something different because he knew how to measure his combinations, and he knew how to land and finish you when he hurt you. He would stun you and he would finish you. That's the type of fighter he was, a one-punch KO artist, Tito Trinidad. But Canelo was a more of a cumulative effect, determination power, not one-punch KO power. No, he doesn't have that. But Crawford has power, but not one-punch KO power. But he has the skills to match the power that he has. So that was just a deadly combination for Canelo. It's just too much. Canelo always struggled with boxers. He struggled with Islam de Lara. He struggled with Mayweather. He struggled with Caleb Plant before Caleb Plant got knocked out. So I give Canelo credit for that victory, Caleb Plant, but he has pillow hands. Caleb Plant. He has pillow punches. So of course it's going to be easier to knock him out, because if he's not feeling anything coming at him, he's going to feel more comfortable going in because the punches don't hurt him, and it's going to give him more of a chance to knock out his opponent. But I think Crawford was just too much. He's on another level, and I think he's the face of boxing right now. Subscribe to that channel. Tony also knows boxing. Yeah, he definitely got outclassed, says Saul Rubalcaba. Ricky Morales, #2 fan. Canelo lost but got the most money. Yeah, because he was the bigger name. But now who's the face of boxing? Crawford. Terrence Bud Crawford. And I feel like, we got it late because Terrence Bud Crawford was blackballed early in his career. That he wanted to fight Manny Pacquiao years ago, but Bob Arum never made the fight for him. And he felt like that they weren't treating him fairly at top rank. So he chose to start his own promotion, prime time, and then eventually got the Errol Spence fight, which that was a very impressive victory because Errol Spence was beating everybody. Danny Garcia, Kell Brook, Sean Porter. He was beating everybody. The guy that beat Manny Pacquiao, the Cuban guy, he beat him too. And then when he fought Crawford, it was like he didn't even belong in the ring with him. But Canelo, at least he didn't get knocked out, but he still got dominated. And I feel like if they was to fight again, Crawford would definitely knock out Canelo. Because he had opportunities to knock him out in this fight. I saw Canelo hurt on Queer Street like a few times in this fight. So, yes, I feel that it's not worth seeing a rematch between Canelo and Crawford because we already know who's going to win. We saw how the fight was one-sided, all Crawford. So imagine the second fight, Crawford would just finish the job and knock him out. But I don't think that, in boxing, those kind of things can't happen because there's a lot of money involved. But I think that he's probably going to fight Hamza Shariz, the guy that beat Belanga, that knocked him out, and he's probably gonna fight Jamal Charlo, and it's possible a rematch or with Canelo, but I don't think it makes sense. Only dollars sense, only money sense, but it doesn't make fanfare sense. Like, you know, people that know boxing, they know it's not worth doing a rematch with Canelo and Crawford. So I feel like Jerome Boots Ennis is a good fight for Crawford, but will Crawford actually fight Jerome Boots Ennis and give somebody that's coming up, that's younger, an opportunity to carry the torch? I don't think so. But when they asked Bomac, you know, Crawford's trainer, is David Benavidez next? He said, no, we're not going to fight David Benavidez. And then on Turkey Al-Sheikh in his social media, he said, can David Benavidez make 164 to fight Crawford? So Turkey Al-Sheikh alluded to actually making a fight with Crawford versus David Benavidez. It's a dangerous fight, man. It's a very dangerous fight. That's a fight that, you know, if you really look at it, David Benavidez is a much bigger guy than Canelo. But, you know, it all depends on how Crawford makes the weight and how he fights him. It's all about technique and skill. So, you know, right there, that's a 50-50 fight in my mind. But you never know. Benavidez might be too big for him. But I wouldn't count Crawford out. But those are the two of my favorite fighters right now. Bud Crawford and David Benavidez and Subriel Matias, who's going to fight in Puerto Rico. They don't know if they're going to do it in December or November because, you know, Fresh Production Boxing of Puerto Rico won the purse bid. And the rumor is that Dalton Smith is agreeing to fight in Puerto Rico. And, you know, the rumors about him fighting Pitbull Cruz because Turkey Al-Sheikh and Eddie Hearn's Matchroom wasn't happy that Puerto Rico won the purse bids to have control over the fight in Puerto Rico for Subriel Matias. They felt like Subriel Matias has the advantage because he's supposed to have the advantage. He's the champion. But they're not going to rob him, you know, just because they're doing it in Puerto Rico. You know, Dalton Smith believes that the fight taking place in Puerto Rico is not going to make a difference because all he has to do is train properly and prepare for the fight and beat Subriel Matias. Which I don't think he's going to beat Subriel Matias. It's going to be an interesting fight because he's undefeated, 18-0 with 13 KOs. But who has Dalton Smith fought? Who has he fought? All right, we have to see. I saw videos of him. He looks like he's good, like he's talented. He has some like the thing is he hasn't fought anybody like Subriel Matias. So I feel like you know, there's a lot for him to prove. And I feel like Subriel Matias has already beaten a better fighter than him in Alberto Puello, which nobody thought he was gonna beat him. There was a lot of people. There was people that were saying that he was gonna win, but more people were saying that Alberto Puello was gonna win because he's a great boxer and technical fighter. But look what happened. Subriel Matias beat him, and he proved that he can beat a boxer as skillful as Alberto Puello. So if he can do that, he can beat anybody they put in front of him. I feel like Alberto Puello could beat any of the other 140-pounders. He already beat Gary Antoine Russell, gave him his first loss, and Gary Antoine Russell's the champion now. And he would definitely destroy Teofimo Lopez because Teofimo Lopez is, you know, he's not as good as he used to be. He's not there anymore. And I feel like he's picking the perfect opponents to look good. He picked Arnold Barbosa because he knows that Arnold Barbosa was slow and lethargic. That's why he was able to look like that against him. But you put him against somebody that throws a lot of combinations like Subriel Matias, he's in deep trouble. Deep trouble. And he can't fight fighters like that. Look, he lost to Cambosos and never tried to avenge the loss. So imagine what Subriel Matias would do to him. Anyway, that's all I got for now. But I feel like Bud Crawford, the people that predicted that he was going to lose to Canelo due to the weight size, those people are embarrassed now, especially Punch Drunk. He's definitely embarrassed, so now he's looking for excuses and saying that, that he sold out, that, you know, he signed a deal with Turkey Al-Sheikh. They were going to make sure that Bud Crawford wins the fight. But if you look at the fight, there was no controversy. Canelo was just outlanded, dominated in and schooled and outclassed. That's the reason why he lost, not because he signed with Turki Al-Sheikh. If Canelo would have not signed with Turki Al-Sheikh and would have did it independently, like with him having control over the fight, he would have never fought anybody with a pulse. He would have fought an Aldiram. He would have fought like somebody that he knows he could beat. He's not gonna fight somebody like Benavidez or somebody that like Crawford that gave everybody a fight that the fans really enjoyed, and something worth talking about for the coming years. This is a fight that people are gonna talk about for a lot of years. And I feel like people in my job, there was a lot of people in my job talking, like casual boxing fans that don't know boxing. They were like, "There's gonna be a rematch with Canelo." I said, "We have to see a rematch." These are boxing casuals. These are casual boxing fans. They're not even boxing fans. They're just saying that because they know about Canelo, but they don't really know a lot about Crawford. They're just saying, "Oh, that Canelo could beat him in the rematch," because they don't know boxing. They don't know boxing. They just talking. They just popularity. They know This is the popularity fans. They only go for popularity boxers. They don't know boxing. They're not boxing purists. They're not real fans. These are people in my job. I'm not gonna say where I work, but these are people that work in my job, and I could tell that they were casual boxing fans. They don't know what they were talking about. And I like the music that Terrence Bud Crawford walked in with. He walked in with the Antonio Banderas music. He was making a statement with that. I was shocked. I was surprised that he walked in with that. But then if you look at it, you ever saw the movie with Antonio Banderas and the first Once Upon a Time in Mexico, the last movie? Like, he was making a statement like to Canelo. This is another level. This is another level for you. You're not going to be able to handle this. I talked about it with somebody at my job, and then he gave me that assessment of the way he walked in with the music, with Antonio Banderas. He was really making a statement, like letting Canelo know this is the big league. You fighting the best of the best, the king of the king of the crop, right here. You never faced anybody like Bud Crawford. So this is like another dimension that Bud Crawford brought to Canelo. And a lot of people were crying, hurt. They went home hurt. All the Mexican fans, nothing against my Mexican fans, but got love for the Mexicans. But all the Mexican fans that were biasly like disrespecting Crawford, they got a little taste of humble pie. And a lot of people went home crying. And now Crawford gets the respect that he deserves. Scrolls of the Hidden Codex, number 3. What's good, Tony? Thanks for tuning in, my brother. Chilling, man. Just talking about the fight. And this guy punched strong. Always looking for excuses, saying that Canelo sold out by signing with Turki Al-Sheikh. Looking for all kind of stupid excuses to save himself from the embarrassment, which he can't save himself from the embarrassment because he looks like a fool even more now. Because he don't want to admit that Canelo just got outclassed and dominated by Crawford. Instead of looking for excuses and blaming the Turki Al-Sheikh, he should just be a man about it and say, listen, I got the prediction wrong. I gotta tip my hat to Crawford. He was the better and greater man, and accept the fact that Canelo lost. Don't look for excuses and say that he sold out. That's some stupid stuff that he's just trying to save himself from the embarrassment by blaming somebody else. Like he can't blame the weight no more. So now he wants to blame Turki Al-Sheikh for Crawford beating Canelo. Canelo Alvarez didn't sell out. If Canelo Alvarez would have chose the fight and had control over the fight with his promotion, he would have never fought anybody. He would have chose to fight a bum just to make money. So it's good that Turki Al-Sheikh, he signed with Turki Al-Sheikh to make that fight, because now the fans got a fight worth talking about and worth watching. And Crawford made history. That's what boxing's all about. The best got to fight the best. And David Benavidez is a fighter that Canelo never wanted to fight, and now he might fight him. He might. But Canelo wasn't trying to fight the best. He was trying to fight the best, safest opponents that he can choose to face, so that way he can keep making money with safer fights like Bumlanger, and Munguia, Charlo, Aldiram. All these kind of fights, man. These fights that people don't want to watch. Does anybody here think that they could be at me? That they could be at me in the mixed martial arts ring? I'm 58, 330 pounds. Man, I'm not into mixed martial arts, Well, you got a ring to set it up. Saul Rubalcaba. That's what he said. Does anybody here think that they could beat me in the mixed martial arts ring. I'm 5'8", 330 pounds. Well, I weigh like 168, and I'm 5'6". So, if I have to eat a lot of food to fight you, nah, it's not gonna work. It has to be me naturally growing into that weight, but I don't want to be no 330 pounds, 5'6". That's too much. I'm gonna look like a blimp. No disrespect, Saul. I'm just saying, I'm 5'6". That's just not. It's not gonna look good on my body, Tony also knows boxing. You're tuning into my channel. Subscribe to my channel. Don't be afraid to click that like button. Don't be afraid of the unadulterated truth, because that's what you're going to get on my channel. You have to get the truth, because if you don't receive that, you're going to keep getting fed with nonsense that doesn't give you any value. And a lot of content creators right now, they're just trying to do stuff just to create clickbait and get people to talk about what they did. They spun the narrative. Why don't you just, if I make a prediction that somebody's going to win and they actually lose, I'm man enough to say, listen, Tony also knows boxing, doesn't know everything all the time. I know my boxing, but I'm human. I can make a mistake and I could get a prediction wrong. I would have just give credit to the guy that won the fight and won fair and square, and just say, hey, this guy won because he's the better fighter that night. And he's just the better athlete with the more technical skills. But, I'm not the type of person that tries to look good. I'd rather be good than look good, because looking good is a facade. It's just something for you to feel good about yourself because you're insecure, and you'll create a narrative where if you got the prediction wrong, you'll blame somebody else and say, oh, the Canelo sold his soul. He signed a contract to fight Turkey. That's why he lost to Crawford. He should have stayed in control of his career with his own promotion. But those are just useless, futile excuses to make yourself look good. Instead of trying to look good, just be good, punch drunk. You don't have to try to create a narrative, a false narrative, and blame somebody else because you got the prediction wrong. Yes, so you can look good, because it makes you look foolish. Not look good. You look good being foolish. What's good about looking foolish? What is good about looking foolish? You think you're looking good by being foolish, but you're actually looking real foolish. You're actually looking real foolish, and you're being really good at it, at making yourself look foolish. You're being good at making yourself look foolish, punch drunk. So you have to be true to yourself and true to the boxing fans that watch you, and stop creating narratives to make yourself look good and be a comedian. It's good. You could be a comedian. It's all good. You could be funny about it and do that. I find some of the stuff that you say funny and interesting, but at the same time, a lot of the stuff that you be saying is just cap. It's just a lot of fake narratives to make yourself look good. You take yourself too serious, punch drunk. I don't take myself that serious. I know what I'm worth, and I know my value. I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I don't need to change a narrative if I got the prediction wrong. I'm man enough to say, hey, I got the prediction wrong. I give credit where credit is due. Crawford is the best fighter of this time, and he was the better athlete, the more skillful fighter than the fighter that I thought that was going to win and didn't win. I'm man enough to admit, hey, give credit where credit is due, and say the fighter that I thought was going to win lost, and I'm man enough to say right here, I don't know I don't have all the answers, but I'm man enough to admit if a fighter that I predicted to win loses, and give credit to the fighter that won, if he won fair and square. If he didn't win fair and square, that's another story. But if he won fair and square, based on his ability and his talent, I give credit to the fighter that I didn't think was going to win, that won. Because that's how I am. I'm real. I'm not like those people that say things and then to look good. I rather say things to be truthful and not to look good, but to be good, to do the right thing. I don't say things just because it sounds good and that I want to make myself look good and make myself look like I'm something that I'm not. I'm not disingenuous. I keep it real. So I call it for what it is, but if I'm wrong, I'm going to admit that I was wrong and give credit to the fighter that I didn't expect to win if he won. That's just the way it is. But Punch Drunk, he got some issues he got to work on, and stop being phony and just be real with himself and be real with everybody that's watching him, and stop creating a narrative and blaming Turkey Al-Sheikh for Canelo losing because Canelo sold his soul to the devil or whatever. He sold out for the money. No, Canelo got money. He just wanted to fight Turkey with whoever Turkey Al-Sheikh said with Crawford because the money was right, but he still was making money anyway before that because it was a fight that it was going to generate a lot of interest, and he took the fight. But if it was up to Canelo, he would have never fought nobody like that, and you know that. If it was up to Canelo, he would fight. If Canelo was in control, he would fight a bunch of Aldirams, Belanga, and fights that we know that he's going to win. Basically, that's what he would do. But some boxing content creators, they just want people to look up to them and say, hey, he's always right. You can't always be right. Just be a man about it and say, oh, okay, I was wrong. I predicted that Canelo was going to beat Crawford, but it didn't happen. Just be a man about it and say, I was wrong. Anybody could be wrong. And give credit to the fighter that won, which is Bud Crawford. He's the face of boxing right now. All the haters, all of them, they're eating crow right now. Yo, brother. Hey, Levi, what's going on, my brother number 3? Thanks for tuning into the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. Subscribe to my channel. Tony also knows boxing. I just had to get that off my chest. Yes, I had to get that off my chest. And that's all I have for today. But yes, I'll have more boxing content for you. Subscribe to the channel. Tony also knows boxing. Peace.